Live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello everyone, welcome to Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. That is a live shot there in Lincoln City, looking towards Rhodes End, I believe is where that camera is pointed. It looks absolutely terrible out there, obviously, if you're looking at that live right now. Feel really bad for anybody out there on the coast. Hello. This is Fox 12 Now. We are live here every weekday starting at 1 p.m. Pacific, and thank you very much for joining us. We are live streaming on our website, on our apps, on YouTube and Facebook, so lots of places to find our content. I always like to remind everybody, downloading the app is a great way to make sure you can watch all of our segments. Today, we are talking about something that's actually kicking off this weekend, and that's the 2024 Portland EcoFilm Festival. So we're going to talk all about that. It's going to be running for actually a couple of months. There's a number of different projects that are involved in this as far as films. We're going to talk all about those right now with the festival director, Rozzell Medina, who is joining us. And thank you, very much for joining us here today. I'm always excited to see about different film festivals that are here in the city. And this one in particular really stood out. And I was hoping, to start off, just for everybody to get a definition. Can you explain what an eco-film festival is?
Yeah, thanks, Greg, of course. So an eco-film is a film that tells an ecological story. Ecological, or ecology means knowledge of home. And ecological films explore different aspects of what that means, what it means to be at home in the world, at home with each other, at home with all the living creatures that we share this home with, and what it means to take care of our home.
So I imagine that could have a lot of different definitions and for different people as far as how they interpret that.
Absolutely. While some people think of it just as environmental, there's a lot more to it. And part of what we like to do is help sort of expand people's awareness of what it means to think ecologically and to live ecologically in community with other people.
That's great. And so getting those different viewpoints, and I know we're going to get into the films as well, and that'll probably give us even more understanding about that. But talking about the festival, how long has this festival been going? And can you tell us a little bit about the history of it?
Absolutely. So a wonderful person named Don Smallman started the festival 11 years ago. And since then, it's become a signature program of the Hollywood Theater in Portland, which is one of the best cinemas in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, Hollywood is amazing. And for those of you watching too, we've got some Fox 12 Now segments that actually spoke to Joe from Hollywood and did some of the history of that. Great place to watch films. So having it there is a great idea. And, looking at the festival, I guess, so it started 11 years ago. How have you seen it expand over these 11 years and grow?
That's a great question. I think one of the ways in which it's expanded or it's grown is that what it means to live in the world is always changing, as we're well aware of. And so these films that are very much about being in the world and of the world have changed as well. So a lot of, as new things emerge, new issues around being in the world emerge, those films emerge as well. So I think that's one big way. Another thing is I think that we're always trying to feature more diverse perspectives from around the world, which is one of the great things I think about coming to the festival, is that I think sometimes we can really get in our own bubble around a lot of different issues. And so I think that one of the things that we try to do is we try to expand people's perspective on what can be a difficult thing to think about, and also a difficult thing to figure out how you fit into this world we live in.
Yeah, I mean, and I love that, being able to get those different viewpoints. Just one question for you, talking about the film industry, do you think the expansion and availability of technology to make films and tell those stories has helped out the Eco Film Festival to bring some of those more of those voices to it?
In certain ways, definitely. I think that sometimes we get films that I can tell are made on a very small budget, but that which tell an incredibly important story all the same. I think especially in other countries where access to technology to make films was once unheard of in terms of having that access to it. Now people can make films on an iPad, on a phone.
Right.
And so I think that has changed. I also think the kinds of the sort of cinematic vocabulary is changing as well. Something like a sweeping overhead shot of a beautiful landscape would have been unthinkable for some people to get 10 years ago. But now with things like drones, we're seeing a lot of those as well.
Right. That could have been hundreds of thousands of dollars for some of those shots to get that. And and now you can go out and get them and just add that into the repertoire of what they're doing. It's really incredible. Looking at, let's jump ahead here. Let's talk about this year's entries, and what we're looking at here. I know I have a trailer here too. I don't know if you want me to play that in full or if you want to talk over this. I'll kind of leave that up to you. But we do have this here. Would you like me to go ahead and play that?
Sure, if you'd like to, Greg.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh, my bad. I thought there was sound on that. That is totally on my end. That was my fault on that. But nonetheless, taking a look at it here, so we're getting a good idea of seeing some big variety here, and obviously in all these films.
I didn't know if you wanted me to beatbox over it or if that was an intentional
if you want to
choice.
beatbox, go for it. Yeah, just absolute silence. No, that was a technical error on my end. But looking at what we see here, I mean, clearly this is a wide variety of films, and these are all ones that are going to be presented here throughout the festival.
Yeah, definitely. So we were really excited. We got more films. So this is an international film festival. So we receive films from filmmakers from all over the world. And this year we received more films than we have in our 11-year history, which was exciting and also a bit of a daunting task. So this year, and we like to premiere films. So while not all of our films are premieres, we do sometimes have special presentations of films that have been out a few years ago. For example, The Host, which is coming up on Tuesday, Neptune Frost, which is coming up later in the season. Most of our films are premiering either world premieres, local premieres, or regional premieres. So we got 150 films plus this season from around the world, and we will be premiering about 25 of those. Another thing that we've done is, I think a lot of people hear about film festivals and they hear about filmmakers and the people in those films walking down the red carpet and getting together to watch those films. Because these are environmental and ecological films, and we feel like they're really important for all kinds of people, for everyone to see, we decided to expand that so that now we're running what we're calling a festival season. So instead of it just being, 4 days of jam-packed with films, which are largely going to be populated by people who would naturally gravitate towards a film festival, we're hoping that everyone will come see these films. And that includes people of all ages. Most of our films, with, I would say, the exception of The Host coming up next Tuesday, are intended for people of all ages. And we hope that kids will bring their parents and parents will bring their kids, and everyone will come see them. So for that reason, we're actually going to have these films playing at the Hollywood Theater from mid-March, starting this Sunday, through the end of June.
Wow, so that's great. So spreading it out and giving people more of an opportunity to go and see some of these. How do you go about curating something like this? I mean, with that many different viewpoints and ideas and understandings of what an eco-film could be, I would imagine that's a pretty big challenge.
It is, yeah. I've got a big giant X over my December on my calendar because I basically spend the entire month curating the festival. And there's a lot that goes into it, One of the challenges, I would say, and you're right, there are a lot of challenges to doing this, but they're challenges that I welcome. One of the challenges is that I would say about 95% of the films that I receive, I would say, are important films. They might not be excellent films, but they're important. They're about important stories. People who are making ecological, environmental films are usually doing it from a place of love and a place of passion, and quite frankly, a place of really wanting to protect what they love and to protect life on Earth. So that means that the bar is pretty high in terms of importance. So it can be pretty difficult saying which ones are more important when they're all so important.
Right. Yeah. I don't envy that challenge. That's got to be difficult. What do you think it is about Portland that makes it such a good place to have a festival like this?
Well, that's a great question. I think that we are very fortunate in terms of living in a region where all kinds of people, regardless of political beliefs, etc., really cherish the natural world of which we're a part and which sustains us all, and we want to protect it. I think that that's something really beautiful about the region that we live in. So I think that that's one important aspect, and I think another important aspect is we are actually the only dedicated ecological and major dedicated ecological and environmental film festival in the region. And I think it's important for people to have a place to come together and connect around these stories and to take in these diverse perspectives. Another thing is that we have so many organizations and so many individuals working on these issues that are often depicted in the films. And so one thing that we like to do is invite those organizations and invite those individuals to come to the films and connect with our audiences, so that an audience who comes and sees a film about any given issue will also have access to connecting with individuals and organizations who are actually working on solutions to the issues in those films. So it's very much about connecting people who care, and also getting people who maybe aren't caring to consider starting. One thing that I like to think is that, for those people who do care, they say, well, you're just preaching to the choir. But if you stop preaching to the choir, they might stop singing. So we give people a place to come together and connect in that way.
That's great, and to have those discussions too surrounding some of the issues that are depicted in there. Rozzell, I want to say thank you very much, for joining us here today to talk about this. Anything else that you think is important for people to know as this festival kicks off on Sunday and goes throughout the next, through June, I believe is what you said. Anything you think is important for people to know who may not have been to a festival like this before?
Sure, that's a great question. Thank you, Greg. One thing I would say is that I think we might have a tendency to think that ecology and environment is something, and things that are environmental and ecological are a certain way. And sometimes we like to keep them over there because they can be difficult to think about, or we have our own sort of preconceived notions about what that means. But one thing that we like to do at the Portland EcoFilm Festival, which begins this weekend, is that we like to expand those ideas and those definitions and help people do that, to help people feel more at home in the world and more at home thinking about ecology and environment and life on Earth in general. So this is a place to have those notions expanded and challenged. Another thing that I think people should know is that while thinking about ecology and environment can be really daunting and sometimes downright depressing, there is some joy to be found in these films. So there's joy to be found alongside the stories of struggle, alongside the stories of people fighting to protect what they love. So I think that's really important. The films that we're showing on Sunday at our opening program, which is called The Art of Ecology, are films that approach ecological storytelling with a particularly imaginative and artful spirit. So I think that that's another thing that people might want to think about, is that there's room for creativity and imagination when you're thinking about ecology and environment. So for people who are curious, I would encourage you to check out our website, portlandecofilmfest.org, and check out our schedule and come watch some films with us.
Fantastic. You just answered my last question right there. Where can people go find information? So, well, Rozzell, thank you very much, for joining us. I appreciate your time in explaining this. Clearly a really diverse group of movies, or films, rather, discussing these diverse topics and different viewpoints, but also diverse filmmaking styles too, just taking a look at that. So really a lot of cinematic experience involved in this as well. So looking forward to it. And yeah, thank you for joining us here on Fox 12 Now.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Enjoy this beautiful day.
All right, thank you. You too. And for everybody watching, again, this is Fox 12 Now, so we are live here every weekday starting at 1 p.m. Pacific and covering a broad range of topics on this show. Things like talking about the EcoFilm Festival, learning about that coming up. At 1:30 p.m., we're going to talk about utility rates, something that everybody has an opinion on, no matter what your standpoint is. Utility rates, particularly power rates, have gone up quite a bit over the last few years, and there are proposals to raise those again next year. We're going to be talking to the Oregon Citizens Utility Board. They are the advocates for residential consumers of power, which is everybody who owns a home or an apartment, everybody who has a power bill. So they are the advocates for those people, for residents, and they're going to be talking about their standpoint on potential raises that are coming up. So we're going to have them explain that. That's coming up at 1:30 p.m. So I encourage you to join me right back wherever you found me right now. I will be there. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.